you all look like you're having a ball. Because this evening is about kids and music, I just have to do this next song. It's just a requirement. You know, it's all about love. And to me, music and love are the same things, really, you know. So, and if our kids grew up with music in their lives, then there is no question that they will always.
Whitney Houston, a name that's practically synonymous with legendary vocals, iconic hits, and a life that was as glamorous as it was tragic. But what if I told you that there's a secret about Whitney that could completely change the way that we see her? Something that's been buried for decades, only to be revealed now, years after her untimely death. And here's the kicker. This secret is coming straight from her own mama, Cissy Houston, who's now 90 years old.
I hope life treats you kind, and I hope.
Born on August 9, 1963 in Newark, New Jersey, Whitney was basically destined to be a star. I mean, with a mama like Cissy Houston, who was well known as a gospel singer, and a cousin like Dionne Warwick, it ain't no surprise that Whitney had music running through her veins from the very beginning. Whitney grew up in a household where music wasn't just a pastime, it was a way of life. Her mama, Cissy, was a powerhouse vocalist who performed with some of the biggest names in the business, including Aretha Franklin and Elvis Presley. Whitney's father, John Russell Houston Jr., was also a prominent figure, working in entertainment and later in public service. So yeah, Whitney had the perfect foundation to become the icon that we all know and love. From a young age, it was clear that Whitney had a gift. She started singing in church, just like so many other legendary artists, at the New Hope Baptist Church in Newark. Now, her voice was something special even as a kid, and it wasn't long before people started to notice, and by the time she was a teenager, she was already performing alongside her mom in nightclubs. I mean, just imagine being a teenager and getting to perform with your mom at places like the Apollo Theater, man. Now, that was Whitney's reality. So let's fast forward a little bit to the moment when Whitney's career really started to take off. Now, it was the early 1980s, and Whitney was ready to make her mark on the world. At just 19 years old, she was discovered by Clive Davis, a legendary music executive who's basically known for having the golden touch when it comes to spotting talent. Now, Clive saw something in Whitney that nobody else had seen. He knew she had the potential to be the biggest star in the world. In 1985, Whitney released her debut album, simply titled Whitney Houston, and it was an instant hit. We're talking about an album that produced 3 #1 singles and stayed on the Billboard charts for an astonishing 162 weeks. Songs like Saving All My Love for You, How Will I Know, and Greatest Love of All became instant classics. Now, Whitney wasn't just a singer, she was a phenomenon. The success of her first album was just the beginning. Whitney went on to release hit after hit, breaking records left and right. Her 1987 follow-up album, Whitney, made history as the first album by a female artist to debut at #1 on the Billboard 200 chart. And of course, we can't forget her iconic rendition of I Will Always Love You, which became one of the best-selling singles of all time after it was featured in the 1992 movie The Bodyguard. She was on top of the world, and it seemed like there was nothing that she couldn't do. But as we all know, fame comes with its own set of challenges, and Whitney's life was far from perfect. So here's the deal, man. We can't talk about Whitney Houston without acknowledging the struggles that she faced throughout her life. Despite her incredible success, Whitney was constantly battling personal demons that eventually took a toll on her career and on her health. Now, one of the biggest challenges that Whitney faced was her tumultuous relationship with Bobby Brown. Now, the two met in 1989 at the Soul Train Music Awards and quickly became one of the most talked about couples in the music industry. They got married in 1992, but their relationship was anything but smooth. There were reports of drug abuse, infidelity, and public fights, and it wasn't long before their marriage started to crumble under the weight of it all.
Well, I heard from NBC your mom's got a talk show offer. She's a riot. You guys are like Burns and Allen.
Oh, wait, hold up. Why you gonna call my mom a riot?
She was a trip.
She was a trip.
She was great.
My mom was a trip.
No.
My mom was real. Let me just tell you like that. My mom was real. She was coming from the heart. If you can't respect that, then you shouldn't have been here, all right?
I do respect that. Now, can I ask you something?
Yeah, please do.
I'm gonna step out because my wife speaks different.
I think it's very special, and I thought this would be a very special night for my husband.
mama tripping. What's wrong with you?
He's in a good way.
Come on, man. You at my birthday party, calling my mama tripping. Turn off the camera.
Whitney's drug use became increasingly public, and it was clear that she was struggling to maintain the image of the perfect pop princess that the world had come to expect. So her once powerful voice started to show signs of strain, and her performances became more erratic. The media, always eager for a scandal, pounced on every misstep, turning her private pain into public spectacle and making a buck. Now, despite all these challenges, Whitney continued to push forward, releasing new music and even attempting a comeback in the late 2000s. But the damage had already been done, and her career never fully recovered. Now, tragically, on February 11, 2012, Whitney was found dead in her hotel room at the Beverly Hilton just hours before she was scheduled to attend Clive Davis's annual pre-Grammy party. The official cause of death was drowning, with heart disease and cocaine use listed as contributing factors.
Whitney's former manager and executive producer of the documentary. Perhaps the film's biggest revelation, Whitney was allegedly sexually molested as a child. Pat says Whitney never told her who abused her, but that she did talk about the alleged experience.
Did you know?
We talked about it, but it was referencing my daughter. You know, we would travel with work. We would argue about me leaving Rhea behind. And I never could understood why she was so adamant about her being on the road with us. And that's when she talked to me very briefly, you know, about her situation. And I understood at that point and just let it go.
In a recent interview, Whitney's mama, Sissy Houston, who's now 90 years old, dropped a major bombshell about her daughter's life. According to Sissy, there's a secret about Whitney's birth that had been kept hidden for decades. Now, y'all ready for this one? Sissy revealed that Whitney may not be her biological daughter. Yo, you heard that right. Whitney Houston, the woman we all know and love, may not be Sissy Houston's biological daughter. Now, this revelation has sent shockwaves through the music world and has left fans and biographers scrambling to piece together the truth. According to Sissy, the circumstances surrounding Whitney's birth were far more complicated than anybody ever knew. She explained that during the early 1960s, she and her husband, John Russell Houston Jr., were going through a difficult time in their marriage. Now, they already had 2 kids, Michael and Gary, but were struggling to conceive a third. Now, around this time, Sissy's close friend, who was also involved in the music industry, found herself in a difficult situation. She was pregnant, but unable to care for the kid due to her own personal and professional circumstances. Knowing that Sissy and John were longing for another kid, she approached them with a proposition. Would they be willing to adopt her baby? Now, after a lot of deliberation, Sissy and John agreed. The adoption was arranged in secret, and when the baby was born on August 9, 1963, she was given to Sissy and John to raise as their own. The baby, of course, was Whitney Houston. So what does this whole shocking revelation mean for Whitney's legacy? Well, for starters, it certainly complicates the story we all thought we knew. For decades, Whitney's narrative was one of a musical dynasty, growing up in a family of talented singers and musicians, with a mama who was her mentor and biggest supporter. But if this revelation is true, it means that Whitney's story is even more complex than we realized. One of the big questions that comes up is whether Whitney herself knew the truth. Did she go through her entire life believing that Sissy Houston was her biological mother, or was she aware of the adoption? If she did know, how did that knowledge affect her, especially during the turbulent times in her life?
No. To go into rehab.
To go into rehab.
That's where she went, yeah.
Okay. You say Bobby was home, and when the door swung open...
He was home. He didn't say a word.
They were standing
Get yourself
there.
together.
Was she high?
No.
She wasn't high.
She wasn't high. She was dressed, and she looked well. She never really, you know.
When Bobby saw the sheriffs, what did he do?
He didn't do nothing. They tell him, don't you move. You know. He didn't do anything. He didn't try to prevent it or anything like that. I can't say that.
She said, I'm not losing you to the world. I'm not losing you to Satan. She said, I'm not doing this. I want my daughter back. I want you back. I want to see that glow in your eyes, that light in your eyes. I want to see the child I raised. And you weren't raised like this. And I'm not having it.
Now, there's also the question of why Sissy chose to reveal this information now after all these years. At 90 years old, Sissy may have felt that it was time to come clean about the family secret, especially considering the fact that so many people had speculated about Whitney's life and the pressures that she faced. By revealing this information, Sissy may be trying to shed light on a part of Whitney's story that's never been told before, in hopes of helping people understand her daughter on a deeper level. Regardless of the speculation, one thing is clear. This revelation has added a new layer of intrigue to Whitney Houston's already messed up and troubled life. This ain't the first time that an adoption has stirred controversy in the world of entertainment. The children of celebrities often face immense pressure to live up to their parents' legacies, and the revelation of adoption can complicate those expectations. For Whitney, who was already under intense scrutiny as the daughter of a famous singer, the knowledge that she was adopted might have just added an extra layer of pressure to what she was facing. Historically, the entertainment industry has seen some pretty high-profile cases where adoption played a significant role in shaping the identities of stars. From Clark Gable, who learned of his adoption late in life, to Ray Charles, who faced similar challenges, the stories of adopted celebrities often carry themes of identity, belonging, and the search for self. And Whitney's story now fits into this complex narrative. So what are your thoughts about this revelation? Make sure you let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.